Hello everyone, Tactical Edge here. Today we have a replay sent in by Rider of Rohan, showcasing the power of Phoenix Gods in melee. For the army build here, we have two Phoenix Gods for the High Elves played by Rider of Rohan. In the front there we have a pure main company, providing that Guardian physical resistance to any High Elf characters. As for mobility, there's a ton of cavalry, silver helms, 4 units, in fact none of them with shields, leading the army Alario the Radiant, supported by a Mage of Light with nothing else but the Byrona's Time Warp for that melee attack buff. Of course, there's also the Book of Hwith for that extra power recharge to get more winds of magic. As for Larry herself, her spell kit and abilities are pretty much just for healing. Just Earthblood and of course Star of Avalon. That is to keep the Star Dragon nice and healthy, making sure it can fight in its full power. For the Dark Elves played by Pigman, we have a front line of Black Corsairs mixed in with Bleak Swords. On the flanks there are a couple Witch Elves, providing a bit of rampaging capacity, and of course supported by a bunch of Cold One Knights for their armor piercing anti-large. There's also the Sisters of Singing Doom here for even more elite melee fighting power. At the back, a Siren of Red Ruin, the Blood-Wrecked Medusa Regiment of Renowned version, and in the skies, Supreme Sorceress of Shadows for her Malkov's Mystifying Miasma and Enfeebling Foe. That's it for army builds, now let's get the battle started. The Dark Elves didn't bring any AoE damage here, no Pit of Shades, no Pendulum, so the High Elves don't really have to worry about getting their units too close to each other because there's nothing to punish it. So the High Elves will be deployed in quite a tight formation. However, the Malkov's Mystifying Miasma is still great at targeting specific units, draining the hit points away from the Silver Helms. Dark Riders at the back moving up, ready to do some flanking charges, but right now the focus isn't on the mobility. Instead, the Siren of the Red Ruin has emerged too close to the High Elf formations, receiving some arrow volleys, taking some noticeable damage, and on top of that, Larry plus the Star Dragon diving down at the poor regiment of Renowned Medusa, and she will be taking quite a bit of damage in the process. At the same time, Phoenix Gods and Pure Main Company are all engaging in melee combat, charging straight into the Dark Elf foes. Now dropping down a Barona's Time Warp, juicing up all their melee attack up to 70 or above. 71 attack on the Pure Main Company and 70 attack on the Phoenix Guards, allowing them to shred through whatever targets they're fighting, whether they are cavalry or infantry. The one unit of Cold One Knights that got caught in this engagement was certainly not happy, already routed away. On top of that, Alario dropping in her signature item, the Star of Avalon. Really healing up all these units here. Earthblood was activated earlier as well, and the Pure Main Company and Phoenix Guards are getting a very good infantry trade. You can see that all these Black Corsairs and Witch Elves are taking substantial damage in the engagement, while the Star Dragon and Larry continues, actually not Larry, just the Light Wizard, going straight after the Siren of the Red Ruin. On the flanks there though, some Dark Riders and Witch Elves are trying to overload the Silver Helms. They are rampaged, so they cannot extract themselves from this engagement and will be slaughtered by all these mobility of the Dark Elves. At the back there, Dark Riders silencing some of the archers, while the Supreme Sorceress of Shadows continues to roam around the battlefield. More Silver Helms are driven off by the Dark Elves, giving them a bit of mobility advantage. But the main issue are still the super elite High Elf infantry holding the ground. They are surrounded on all fronts by the numerically superior Dark Elf foes, but they are superior in quality instead and will be beating down their foes just fine. For now, the High Elves are using their mobility and monster advantage, trying to isolate pockets of Dark Elf troops, just like here, the Cold One Knights being overwhelmed by a combination of Silver Helms. Actually, there are also some Phoenix Guards to support, and Star Dragons munching these Cold Ones for snacks. The Siren of the Red Ruin really didn't have a good chance to fire her ammo in this game, being constantly hunted down by the Star Dragon. The tiny bit of damage she dealt was from her health drain ability, and that was not quite enough to cover her cost. Though she does enjoy a little bit of breathing room now that the Star Dragon and Larry are temporarily distracted by the Cold One Knights and Witch Elves. Also activating their ability here, the Whale of Malice, draining the health of any units in the vicinity, trying to bypass their elite melee stats and armor. That said, the damage was minimal and the Phoenix Gods continue to hold, and at the same time, Bleak Swords being absolutely blasted by the Star Dragon's breath attack, and in one fell swoop, the presence of a majestic High Elf monster terror outs these Dark Elf infantry. A few minutes into the game at this point, the High Elf infantry has accumulated quite a bit of losses. Still, they have managed to beaten back most if not all of the Dark Elf infantry onslaught. Phoenix Gods once again receiving Barona's Time Warp from Ilario the Radiant, juicing up their melee attack with magical steroids and help them cut down foes in their way. They'll be fighting, cleaning up the rest of the Dark Elf infantry. There's still some healthy Bleak Swords here. This one's actually full health, haven't seen any fighting, but I don't think they're a match for these still decently healthy Phoenix Guards. At the back of the battlefield, it seems that the High Elf player forgotten quite a few regrouped units of Silver Helms. I don't think it's gonna make too much of a difference, because right now the High Elves are really leading ahead in balance of power. Star Dragon's still super healthy, dropping a massive breath attack, nuking some poor Bleak Swords. At this point, the Dark Elves decided it is time to throw in the towel, as much of their army has been obliterated and they have no way to deal with a Star Dragon still having access to healing. Big thanks to Rider of Rohan sending in the replay, and GG to both players. For the army performances, this battle was basically just the Star Dragon hunting down the Siren of Red Ruin, plus his occasional breath attacks, wrecking some Dark Elf infantry, while the elite infantry, Pume Company, and the Phoenix Gods holding their ground using that juiced up melee stats, all from the Barona's Time Warp and the healing spams from Ilario, helping them to hold their ground, win out on sheer quality alone, as they were able to outtrade all these Bleak Swords, the Witch Elves, and Black Corsairs. The archers didn't do much as there were not enough units to protect them, while the Silver Helms did some pretty nice work overall, just tying down Dark Riders and Coan Knights in place, allowing the Phoenix Gods and the Star Dragons to cut down their targets, especially the Coan Knights being hit hard when they were accidentally stuck on the elite Phoenix Gods. The Witch Elves also didn't have a good time trading against the High Elf infantry due to their heavy armor, and they themselves do not really have the kind of armor piercing to do the job, even if they have the empty infantry bonus. Black Corsairs definitely not a good trade into the heavily armored plus armor piercing High Elf elite infantry. Mobility wise, the Dark Riders didn't do much here because there were not many archers to deal with, while the Bleak Swords definitely did not have the stats nor the armor piercing to handle the High Elf elites. The Supreme Sorceress of Shadows did some minor damage with Melkoff's Mystifying Miasma, but that's about it, while the Siren of Red Ruin actually still earned back a bit of value with mostly the Wailing ability. Anyways, that's it for today's battle. I hope you all enjoyed the buffed up High Elf elite action, and if you want to see more Total War Warhammer multiplayer, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.